Hey Playbookers, it's Todd here with the Church Playbook, and this video is in a series of me trying to answer some of your questions about the unique challenges that we as pastors face in trying to lead churches of under 200. And so this week's question is has come in several times in several different formats, but the basic gist of it is this. What are some ways that our church can promote ourselves out in the community? And by the way, this whole idea of promotion or of marketing, that's not a bad word. And in fact, much of what you see in the Gospels is, crowds were drawn to Jesus because word got out about who he was and what he was doing. In fact, there's a great book, and I'll probably do a video on this one day, but a book by a guy named Seth Godin called The Purple Cow. And he talks about how, basically products or organizations or even churches are kind of like brown cows. You've seen one, you've seen them all. But if you saw a purple cow, that would be something that you'd actually pull off to the side of the road and take a picture and post it to social media, because a purple cow would be remarkable. That whole phrase remarkable simply means something worth making a remark about. And so he spends the rest of this book talking about how, again, companies, businesses, organizations, even churches can make themselves purple. Which, by the way, I had nothing to do with the shirt that I'm wearing today. I was just thinking about this. Anyway, he says, we need to make ourselves purple. We need to make ourselves remarkable, because when what you offer is remarkable, you don't have to pay for marketing. People are willing to talk about you. But here, let me give you 4 things that you can do that are either free or just relatively inexpensive as a way of getting the word out about your church to your community. And the first thing that I would have you do is get, honestly, 2 or 3, no more than 6. Once you get 7 people in a room, everyone's kind of talking over each other. But get a handful of people in the room and just brainstorm for a minute about what kind of event, what kind of service you could offer to the community that would match the needs, the current needs of the community. And so, some of the stuff that our church does, I'm heavily involved in youth sports. I haven't had a kid in youth sports in years. My kids are either out of high school or almost out of high school. But we open up our church to various youth sports organizations. They have to do uniform fittings. They have to do end of season banquets or award ceremonies. And we actually open up our facility so that they can do that, and it gets people on our campus. And so that's one of the things that we do. Now, that's not an event, but it is a way to get people onto your campus. And so get some people in a room and start saying, well, what kind of event could we do? I've talked about this before, but, and I talk about this in the Church Playbook, how we would just make up holidays and encourage our people to invite their unchurched friends to those days. Again, I was a football coach. I still am, but several years ago, I was a football coach, and so I decided to do a Santee Ravens Day at our church, where we had certificates printed up, and we invited all the board and all the head coaches up front, and we would congratulate them, thank them. We'd hand them a certificate, take a picture with them, and so their entire team would show up. The families would show up to say thank you to the board, and we would do that on a Sunday. We would actually take about 7 minutes out of our normal worship service to do that, and we would do it either right before, actually I would do right at the end of my sermon, so people would actually have to show up, sit through the service, put their kids in children's ministry and all of that, kind of have to commit to the whole service thing. And then at the end, as a part of my sermon, we would bring these people up and say thank you. But that came as a result of just a little brainstorming event that a core group of us got together to do. How can we get more people in the door? How can we promote our church? Another thing that you can do is hand out invite cards. We do this typically with about, at least with the big teaching series that I know that we're going to do throughout the year. We will have little business card-sized invite cards, color front and back, glossy on the front side, and that would have like the logo of the teaching series, and then on the back side of it would be a brief synopsis of what the series was going to be about. I would even list the titles of that series along with all of our our Facebook, our Twitter, our email, with information that they would need to get to our church, or if they needed to get a hold of us for whatever reason. And so what we would do is in the bulletin, in the program, for about 4 weeks before the series would start, we would put 2 invite cards in everyone's program. And so as the ushers handed out the program, and then we would do the announcements, we would say, hey, you'll notice you've got a couple of cards in your program. Those aren't for you. They're not for, because they look really nice. And so we would say, hey, those aren't for you. Don't put them on your fridge. This is for your next door neighbor. This is for that fellow parent that's on your kid's sports team. This is for the guy that works in the cubicle down the hall from your office. And so we would make it easier for people to invite and give them a card. The third thing that I would encourage you to look into are Facebook ads. Now, this can start with something as simple as putting together a really nice post on your church's Facebook page and then boosting that post. Now, when you boost, you can actually target who you want to see this post. And sometimes, depending on what it's about, I'll just boost it for the people that like our page. Sometimes I will boost that post for people who like our page and their friends. And sometimes it may not even be for the people in our church or their friends, but I'll specifically target certain zip codes to see that post. And then that's one way to get started. There's a whole sort of Facebook power editor where you can create posts within what's called an ad account, and you can target by age, gender, specific interests, specific behaviors, and so then what you do is you invite them to a specific event, and so that's something there. And there's a ton of material online. YouTube is your best friend when it comes to people will literally share their screen and they'll show you how to create an ad account, how to create a Facebook post that converts, and then how to boost that post or how to just create a promotional ad. And then the last thing, and honestly, this is the most effective when it comes to getting people to, get the word out about your church and then getting people to come, is we ask this simple question to the people that already attend our church. Who's your one? Who's the one person that you are investing in and inviting to our church? Now, and here's a pro tip. If I know that I've got an outreach event coming up about 6 weeks in advance, at the end of my sermon, I will talk about the necessity that we need to be bringers. We need to be inviters. And so on the back of their connection card, I'll have them write down 5 names of people they know that need Jesus, aren't attending not just our church, but any church. We're not trying to steal people from other people's churches. We're trying to go after people that don't like church at all. And so write down from 1 to 5, and then I have them prioritize from easiest to invite to hardest to invite, 1 to 5. And then what we do is we put week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 on a Word document, first names only, and then I'll email that list to our church. And then the deal that I make with everyone in our church is this: if you will pray for your 5 friends every day for the next 5 weeks, I will pray for your 5 friends every day for the next 5 weeks too, for you to invite them to the special event 6 weeks from now. And what's so great is when we do the event, people in our church will come up to me and they will introduce their friend as, hey, this guy was on my list, or this is my one. And they get so excited about it because they were so nervous about inviting them for weeks, months, or even years. And simply by including the entire church in praying for their lost friend for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, it gave them the courage to finally extend an invitation. And of course, since we're praying for them every day for 5 weeks, those people that were the hardest nuts to crack, as it were, they get 5 weeks of prayer before they get invited. And it's so fun to hear the stories of how God started working in their lives before they even showed up to our church. So brainstorm some event ideas, put some invite cards together. I like to go to nextdayflyers.com. They're quick and they're inexpensive. Learn how to do some Facebook ads, and then start asking the question, who's your one? Who's the one person that God would have you invest in and invite to our church? Hey, listen, I hope that was helpful to you. You can look for some more videos in the near future. I explain all of this and more in my book, The Church Playbook. And if you go to thechurchplaybook.com, I've already paid for your book. I'd love to give you a copy for free. If you'll help me out with the shipping cost, that would be a huge help. And then if you would, as usual, like, comment, and subscribe to this video, that'll help get this video in front of other pastors that need some extra help like we all do. God bless you guys. We'll see you soon.